Welcome back to another episode of Talk Music Talk with Boice. I am Boice, and this is my podcast, a music interview podcast where I talk to journalists, musicians, anyone who is somehow involved with music from all different backgrounds, because I love all styles and genres of music. On this episode, I have a wonderful discussion with singer-songwriter JackLucy. I know her from Pittsburgh, and we both live here in New York now, so we do discuss that. We also talk about how she fell in love with music as a child, then at some point fell out of love. We talk about that. And then fell back in love with music. I think for anyone who has ever been kind of discouraged in the pursuit of their dreams and goals will relate to her story and hopefully be inspired by it. JackLucy also performs a acoustic number at the end of the interview, which was a request and a favorite song of mine by her. I hope you enjoy that. If you are listening to this before December 20th and you live in New York, you should check her out at the Rockwood Music Hall on December 20th. She'll be performing there, and you can find out more information in the show notes and her website, JackLucyFM.com. Anyway, without further ado, make sure you stick around for the end of the show for Coda for last minute tidbits. But without further ado, here is my interview with JackLucy here on Talk Music Talk. Okay, I'm here with JackLucy.
Yes.
JackLucy.
The one and only.
One and only JackLucy. But I know you by another name. I don't know. Is that like a St. Vincent thing?
It is. Yeah, we can't disclose that at this time.
Okay. So how long have you been going by JackLucy?
I came up with, going by JackLucy, let's say 5 years now.
Oh, okay, cool.
But really, really using it in the past 3 years.
Okay, cool. Because I knew you pre.
Yes, pre-JackLucy.
Yes. How do we knew each other in Pittsburgh because we're both from Pittsburgh, though we're in New York now.
Yeah.
How did we
meet? I don't remember. Do you remember?
No, I have a horrible memory. We met somewhere, some event. You were performing. I think you sang.
No?
I
feel like I meet everyone at the Shadow Lounge.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Were you at the closing party?
For the Shadow Lounge?
Yeah, were you there?
I was. I performed there, but I feel like I met you before that.
Yeah, we did. We met before that, but I think it was in Bloomfield.
Okay.
In Bloomfield.
I feel like it now. I feel like we were on the... Yes.
Yeah, what was the art gallery? Bloomfield, or what was it called? I don't remember.
I don't know. There was an art gallery in Bloomfield or Lawrenceville?
Lawrenceville.
Okay.
Yeah, what's the main strip?
Butler Street.
Butler Street. See, I forgot. I'm horrible. I go back and I forget all the streets.
When did you move here?
Oh, God. 2006?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's long enough to forget.
Yeah.
Because I go to Pittsburgh now, and when I'm driving, I totally forget, like, what's the name of that street? What's the shortcut?
Right, exactly. So we met before you moved?
Yeah, we met before you moved.
So that was right when I got back.
Okay.
I moved back 2005.
Okay, back from here? You were already in New York?
Yeah, I lived in New York. I lived in California for 3 years. Then I moved to New York, and I lived here for 2 years. Then I moved back to Pittsburgh in 2005.
Okay.
2005, middle 2005. And then I moved back here 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I ran into you.
We ran into each other in Midtown on 50th Street. See, that I remember.
Yes. You had just I just touched down. Or something.
Yeah, just came back. So, and Aaron, my roommate, dragged me back here.
Oh, okay. So how did you get from Pittsburgh to New York, to California and all that?
Pittsburgh, born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
And,
what part?
Grew up in McKees Rocks.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm
then,
from Clairton.
Yeah, McKees Rocks, and then half in Mount Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of went to school for a year here in Pittsburgh, or in Pittsburgh,
okay.
at La Roche, and then was going for English.
Okay.
Don't know why, considering I do music inside and out. And then I left, and I followed this girl to San Francisco, and I ended up there.
Okay.
And then I followed music to New York City.
Okay.
And then I ended up here.
So how long, when did the music start?
Oh, music, playing ever since I was 8. Is that when you're in the 4th grade?
I'm horrible.
No.
With
Yes.
grades.
So fourth grade, let's just say fourth grade.
Okay, fourth grade. That sounds nice.
That is.
Because it could be different, like if you were held back or something like that.
It could be. Let's say not held back.
Yeah.
But I had a late birthday, so I was, I graduated high school at 17, that kind of thing. So it's fourth grade. I played the flute. My mother played the flute, so I played, and then seventh grade came along, and I decided to play the sax because my dad played the sax. Okay. And from there, I just picked up every single instrument I possibly could, and kind of fell in love with the guitar because I could actually sing at the same time.
Okay,
as opposed to having a flute or a saxophone or a trumpet. I played French horn, harmonica, all types of stuff. And then wrote my first song at like 15, and then had my first label meeting at 19.
Okay. Label. Okay, so let's go back to the first song.
First song.
What was the first song?
I really wish I could remember this entire song. And I keep trying to find tapes. Wildest Dreams.
Wildest Dreams. Okay. Was that prophetic?
Well, no. It was pretty. It was pretty much about being a millionaire.
Okay.
And doing so many things in your wildest dreams, like going skiing. I just remember, if I only had $1 million, and I'm only willing in your wildest dreams. So the song itself, because I used to play in a ska band, I used to play saxophone, so it had this like beep boppy ska.
All you needed was horns.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I wrote that on guitar. But I wish I know I'm going to find the lyrics somewhere. And the cassette tape that I recorded this on. I've been looking for it for years.
Okay. That sounds like a bonus track one.
It doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just redo it. Just redo it. Ska, dubstep, something. Who knows? But I wrote that song, but I used to do a lot of like Alanis Morissette covers and Jewel covers, and I played my first show, like acoustic show, when I was 17, when I had a band. I formed a trio band in high school, and our band teacher got us a gig at Borders Bookstore in Pittsburgh. I think it was out in McKnight or somewhere.
Yeah, McKnight Road.
We went to Borders Bookstore, and we get there, and we're going to play in the middle of the bookstore, and this other band was on, and we're all like 16, 17. There's three of us. We're both 17 and one was 16. The bass player was 16. Then we get there, and it's this much older band. They were like in their 60s. It was an older band playing, so it wasn't like, older because they were 20.
Yeah. Well, they were probably only like 30s.
No, they were in their 60s. He had gray hair, like the whole thing. They were older, but they were playing in the bookstore when people were around. And so we get up and we do our half ska, half rock, acoustic drum thing. But it was a lot of fun. Like, that was our, we realized we were a band. Okay. And we started playing school events and all that type of stuff. And then I, of course, split off solo at some point.
Was that pivotal and I know this is what I want to do, or had you felt that beforehand?
I felt that beforehand. When I first started playing guitar, I learned how to play guitar, or taught myself when I was 15. I was playing other instruments, but once I got to high school, after my freshman year, I found an old dusty guitar in the band room, and I only had 4 strings on it, and guitars generally have 6. Yeah. I had no idea that I could actually just change those strings myself and put them on, but I checked out the guitar and borrowed it for an entire summer and taught myself how to play guitar on 4 strings. So once I got the other 2 strings put on and I had that guitar every day, I pretty much was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And I would put my ear onto the body of the guitar as I strum it, and it literally, for me, it sounds like I'm in a huge arena, in a huge theater. The acoustics go right down to the gut of my soul, and I just literally imagined being in a very huge arena. Okay. And I've had that opportunity, which is awesome, to be able to perform in really large arenas. So I knew then, and I always knew I wanted to play music ever since I saw the recorder. When I was like, I was like 5, and my uncle, we're pretty close in age, had a recorder, and I knew I couldn't get one until I was in the 4th grade. And so I missed the recorder because I left that school district and moved to the city. So I got a flute instead. I still wanted that recorder.
Do you keep up with all your instruments, or is it guitar?
Guitar, It's the one I mainly keep up with.
Okay.
I kept up with sax for a long time. And I still have it. So I still have sax. I still play piano, play guitar. I've bought several basses and returned them.
Okay. You can't get into the bass? Or
No.
I
love it. It's just not the right bass. I haven't found the bass that I want. At this point, I know how I want it to feel, how I want it to sound. And but the harmonica, and I used to play drums in church. I haven't kept up. I just don't have the space or living in an apartment building, not having neighbors who would like that very much.
Yes, true.
But mainly guitar.
Okay.
That's the main thing I keep up with.
So is there a connection between learning all the instruments that makes one easier than another, or that you had sort of figured out this key that...
With the going from flute to saxophone, to me, and some people might say no, the fingerings are exactly the same.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Although the notes are different, they're different keynotes, but the way that it's set up, even though one is like kind of vertical and one's horizontal as you play it, for me it felt exactly the same. So that was really a really easy transition compared to like if I were to switch from clarinet or when I switched to trumpet, where it's just 3 valves and it's like trying to figure out all these notes on that. Guitar and bass was a pretty easy transition, but that's more of a feel. I feel like there's a rhythm section that you're supposed to be a part of when you play bass, and then the guitar usually has a little bit more melodic tempo to it. And they're all the same. The one I could not play though,
what's that?
Cello.
Cello.
I really, really wanted to play.
Now, what's
cello.
the difference about the cello?
So, as far as string instruments go, there are no frets on this. So the frets separate the notes, right? Yeah. Trying to be able to get into the no fret thing confused me. And then that I could have figured out, but it was really about the bow.
Okay.
Like that technique takes a lot to get the right sound. So it doesn't sound like you're screeching across something.
Which no one likes.
No. But to have a bow, to be able to stride over those strings, that takes a long time. I had no patience for it. Yeah. I needed my guitar just to be tuned and played. The piano tuned and played. So I didn't need to adjust. But I wish I had, maybe I still will.
Yeah, sure.
Find a cello.
Do you know how to read music, or are you playing by ear? Or
So as far as reading music, I did. I still can read music. Like if I look at it, it'll take me a little while. It's like, out of practice reading a foreign language. Like I know what that kind of means. And as far as reading notes and the simplicity of the basics of music, yes, I can look at a score and take me a while and say, I know what that note is, or I can figure out what that chord is. But sight reading is the hard part for me because I'm way out of practice. Okay. And given technology, it's kind of easy to stay out of practice, which is not very good.
Yes. Well, I've made an album on an iPad, so
exactly. There you go.
I'm cheating.
But even when I did play in like concert band or orchestra and things like that, and jazz band, if there was anyone else in my section playing the same thing I was, I just listened to them, played it, and never read the music. Yeah.
I did that with trombone.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick it up, and I would just listen and watch the slide.
That's another thing. I never played trombone because it's that slide.
I had to watch.
The note. You gotta find the note. But I would just do it by ear, and it became so easy to do it that way that I just was like, well, why am I going to sit here and read this? I mean, there's definitely a benefit in being able to read it. So, and I learned a lot when I took a class in chorus, not until I was, like 24 or 25, and to sight read vocals, to be able to sing that's amazing.
Really?
I don't know if you've ever done that?
No.
Oh my goodness, being able to the skill that you need to have to be able to sight read and find vocal without an instrument that already that this is an F. And be able to find that F within you, and then be able to find the third above it, and so on, and then and just knowing and be able to visually see intervals, that was very interesting to me.
How did that help you?
It did a lot, and I might even just go that route and stay away from my instrument that I'm used to, that I just want to jam out with, and do more of sight reading that way. I think that'd be fun training. So
when you were going back to 15. What were you listening to at that time? And
that time for me, as much as I wanted to listen to R&B and hip hop and just things that like were like my uncles listened to. I mean, I'm the oldest, so it was like I was listening to what my uncles listened to or what my aunt listened to, and a lot of that was gospel or R&B or hip hop. But my mother didn't allow us to listen to that stuff. It was just gospel. So for some reason, I wasn't that much into gospel music, and somehow I was able to listen to grunge, and my mom it didn't bother her. So I remember someone gave me this cassette tape. I don't remember who it was, and it was full of Radiohead, which isn't really grunge, but at that time they had the Creep song. Radiohead, Nirvana, Offspring, was it like Bush? Yeah, all those guys.
This is like early '90s.
Yeah. And I listened to that cassette tape over and over and over again, walking down the hallways with my headphones, sunglasses, and a hat on, and like that was it. So that's what I was listening to, and I still swear that I play grunge music to this day, but it doesn't come out that way.
How are you hearing it in your head as grunge?
In my head, I hear this it's very like I think it's more the chords progressions that I play that give me these melodies that are kind of grunges 90s, but because my voice it comes off very like clean and melodic, which
get
grunge music
style.
Is not very clean and it's melodic, but it's not very clean, crisp, clear singing all the time. It's very like whiny and so. But in my head, that's what I'm playing. Grunge music. I do a lot of Nirvana covers.
Okay, cool. I have not heard one yet. That'd be cool.
I'll have to do one soon.
So, because I'm curious how your mother, you slipped that by. So, were you an ultra religious or conservative family?
Born again Christians.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they're a little more, I guess, open now. Their beliefs have not changed, but their understanding of life around them has.
Yes.
And so, like, when I was a kid, especially being the first granddaughter, the first, daughter, I think I definitely had it the worst as far as what I could or could not do. And so a lot of it was definitely my entire family, they're musical. I mean, my grandparents, going way back and to present. But for some reason, if it wasn't in the church, it did not exist.
Okay.
Right? So being able to have these amazing, let's say secular influences that, to me, God gave them the gift. Why can't I listen to them?
Use it.
Would have been awesome, but it's just not how they saw it.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different now. They're a little more open to other music.
Okay.
But back then, it was a lot. My mom was trying to do her best to save me from sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And you've got, R&B, wine, and grinding and all that crazy. You know what I mean? And, it is what it is. I don't really listen to it now. Yeah. Maybe because of that, I have this, I just don't really listen to it.
So how did you get from playing at Borders to, you had a record deal at 19? Or,
so what I did was,
meeting?
that was my first label meeting was with Columbia Records, and I went through several meetings, and then I went and I was working with Hitch Street Music Group, which actually my uncle is involved in. He's a producer, part of Hitch Street Music Group. And I was able to eventually have interest from a label in Europe called Lucky Song Entertainment. And during this interest and us, getting ready to sign things, I got the opportunity to go on tour and be the opening act for the Backstreet Boys in Germany, which was a lot of fun. Yeah. So we're playing arenas, like hockey arenas. And the cool thing about Germany is it's all general admission.
Okay.
So if you don't get there early, you're not going to get there. You're not going to be close. So the opening acts have a pretty full house.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
So 10,000 people, in this arena.
Which is usually not the case for opening acts.
Exactly, just like playing to no one.
Yeah.
So it was a really awesome experience. And so working with them was awesome. And right before things were to be signed and taken care of, they went bankrupt, unfortunately.
Really? Okay.
but it was an amazing experience to be able to go over there, and also had an opportunity to open up for Anthony Hamilton, which was a lot of fun, which was kind of interesting because someone saw us play at a festival. So me and my band, us at the time, played a festival in Florida and asked us to open for Anthony Hamilton. And there's no
obvious connection.
There's no connection whatsoever, because especially at that time I had my electric guitar out, and the band would DJ and just kind of going a little ham on a little more grunge at that time. And that was 2005. So trying to
not
think
too
back
long
at some
ago.
point. No, it's not that long ago in the sense of grunge is gone, But I mean, going from Borders, just kept staying on my grind and working with Hit Street at the time, and
So was the grunge sound what bears in relation to what you're doing now? Or had you not found, would you say that you were getting into your voice then, or you're more into your voice now? Or?
I'm more into my voice now. I'm definitely more in tune with my voice now. Then I was really, wanting this sense of I don't know the word of team, not team, but I can't think of the word. By having a band this
camaraderie,
this club of we are. I was always looking for something, looking for this. I have to have a band. I have to have this, this band that we go on tour and I do it with them and we do this and it was kind of a catch-22 in how what I thought about myself, in that I couldn't perform solo and I needed this band to kind of hide behind.
Okay.
And each time I perform solo now, I have so much more control and I'm so much more into myself and so much more into the audience. I love playing live. I mean, recording, I'll record, but playing live and just being in front of people is the most amazing thing. And so I've come to terms with it. I play the guitar the way I play the guitar. Fitting it into a band, unless, which I found a drummer, and that's pretty much it that I'm playing with. I'm playing in December, and he comes in from LA, and he plays. We've played for the past 2 years, and we really, really get each other, right? So my sound now is, I'm much more into how I perform and how I play, and being very comfortable with, if I happen to do something that sounds grunge, that's fine. It's just me and my guitar up there, and if I happen to do something that's very R&B-ish, that's fine too. My music tends to be a little bit different from song to song, where I've gotten the nickname from one of my former drummers as records, because each one of my songs sound like a different record.
Okay.
So
good compliment.
Which is cool, and I like that. I never wanted them to sound the same, so it's definitely I'm more into my own now. And if I decide one day that I want to play that same way that I did before, and that's what I'm feeling, that's what I'll do.
And when did you figure that out? When did that click?
It's kind of where the name JackLucy ended up coming from, where I was just I felt myself trying to figure out, okay, where do I fit in? If I do this, I fit in there. If I do this, I fit in here. If I, X, Y, and Z, I'm going to fit in. And then it came to a point where it's I can't do that anymore. I can't be this fit in this jack box, because I don't. I'm not this quintessential lumberjack looking, guy, white guy singing folk music. I'm just not that. Or white guy singing grunge music. I don't fit in that box. Or I'm not Lucy, who's this, typical girl next door, feminine, singing folk music and having her guitar and barely strumming anything. I am, none of those, but altogether, I'm all of it if you put them together, right? So it's my alter ego, and once I really took on that name, I started really thinking about what that meant to me, from my performance into my life, into my sound, and it's just being comfortable with this is what I am. I'm not going to be either one of those, so it's just JackLucy. That's it. Great. So,
do you feel your music got better, or what you were writing, or is it more honest, or
more honest? My music's definitely more honest, and to be honest, I'm not writing as much as I did when I had this broken heart kid syndrome, because it is hard to be honest in like this phase of like, you're going to be judged. You're putting it out there. If you're going to ship your product, you're going to ship this music, you're going to be judged on it. And that's one of the things. It's like, are they, being judged on my personality? But I wrote the song called What I Like. And it was just for me personally, just talking about, hey, I'm doing what I like. I'm JackLucy now. And seeing the response from that, which I was completely shocked that people like the song. And I haven't put it on a CD or put it out yet. But everyone asked about it. And I'm like, why do you even like that song? It's just about me. It's literally about, like, really about me. There's no story. I didn't concoct this idea. It's literally just like I woke up and started brushing my teeth. You know what I mean? But people connect when you're completely honest.
Yeah, they feel it.
That's a big thing.
Okay. So you have the album, the EP, that came out last year. What was the number?
Came out in January. Yeah,
1827. Right?
Yeah, 1827.
What is 1827?
1827. I should just leave that in the air and say say it's nothing. But my really, 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 really good friend and drummer, and also one of the guys who has helped keep music alive in me as I went through a few things. Okay. Eric Downs, I just was like, hey, Eric, the many times that we've had these conversations, and he's like, what are you doing? Get your music going. And it was just more encouraging. He would just listen to me, rant about what I need to be doing. And he's like, all right, I'm here if you need me. He wouldn't really say much. And then finally I called him in, I think, like December last year. And I was like, I'm coming to see you for a week. We're going to record, whatever, and then we'll figure it out from there. So when I get there, his apartment number is 1827.
Oh, okay.
So we recorded everything in his bedroom.
Okay.
Literally, he took the doors off of his bedroom closet, rigged them up somehow, put some sort of egg crate over it, and literally I slept in his room and he was out in the living room, and he would knock on the door, wake me up, say, you ready? We would I'd fix myself and we'd start recording. And we did that for 5 days straight, and I was going to do all new music, and then I decided I need to close a chapter.
Okay.
So I'm going to close this chapter, put out these songs that I've had, and ship them, and move on to JackLucy. And it's not all of my old songs; it's only 5. But
so you mentioned, were you going to? Why were you going to give up on music? Or
it was pretty heartbreaking. I think. I mean, I've had some amazing opportunities, and I just didn't know how to react to them. Okay. Especially when they went away, and it was something like, I mean, I've shared the stage with Taylor Swift, and she was a lot younger. She had just got signed to I think like a development deal or something like that, and we did a BMI singer-songwriter contest, and we were both also supposed to be on this Abercrombie campaign, and unfortunately, the manager, who I no longer speak to, lost the info, lost all this stuff, and we weren't able to. I wasn't able to do the campaign, and I saw her on this campaign. Yeah. But there was just a lot of things like that where it's just like, man, I'm giving it everything I got, and I don't fit in this box, and then all of a sudden, this person is huge, right? Yeah. And then I wrote a song that I really loved, and I wanted to perform it, and I was able to get it placed at J Records when J Records first came out with Clive, and it didn't come out for a number of reasons, but for one reason, the artist left the label. Okay, that was the one reason. Yeah. Although she performed it on Conan, it was on satellite radio, it was ready to be pressed, it was on her website, it was my song First Date, it was going to be her first single out. But then it was like, I came to you, I wanted to be the performer for it, but it wasn't good enough for me, so you put it on this Lucy. Yeah. You put it on a Lucy. Okay. And I honestly just couldn't deal with that, on top of my family not being very supportive of me doing music outside of the church, and for my personality, it just didn't work. Yeah. Like, I didn't know how to do that, but it was like time after time. It was about 6 years of this going on. When really all I wanted to do was do music. I kind of, at that time, wish I never did that first meeting that my uncle was like, he took my tape, and he's like, oh, you're so good, let me take it. And I was like, okay. I was like, I just started playing. I wrote this song. Like, that's it. And then, it's that time where you never really had the time to, like, enjoy it and understand what it meant to develop and grow and be you. And I just didn't have that moment. I didn't understand it. And so it got a hold of me, all the rejection or being this close, but that person looks like this and is going to do that. So sounds petty, but
No,
at
no.
the time it definitely hit me.
Going through myself too at times, it is, how does an artist stay motivated in the face of, you have this dream, what your passion is, right? And how do you keep going through when things aren't, say, going in the way? So
right.
And how did you come out of that, or that I still want to keep doing this?
How did I come out of it? I knew, and I still know that deep down, if I did not, or I do not play music, I don't know what else to do. Meaning, like, there's really no point for me to live.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds serious or like
no,
extreme, but I'm like
what else do I?
Am I going to go and just work? Not that I don't like work. I work. I mean, I work as well, and it's just, what am I going to do? Like, sell all my, like, it would have to be extreme. I'd have to sell all my guitars, sell any piece of music equipment I have, everything, and be a completely different person.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was like, and I'm not.
I can't do that.
I can't be a different person, and I'm not gonna like be, in my 60s, like, yeah, I used to play guitar, and like, no, I want to be active in the industry forever. Yeah. So I just kept people around me, like my dear friend and soulmate, Aaron Pfeiffer is an amazing artist coming up, and I
have to meet Aaron.
You have to meet Aaron.
I've seen him, heard about him. I've never actually met him.
He's DJing somewhere tonight.
Okay.
And he just had this kind of like, happy-go-lucky, wide, bright-eyed kind of attitude. And I'm sitting over here being jaded, and we met, and it kind of was like this yin and yang kind of effect. And I help him be a little more grounded when needed, and he helps me to like, okay, look on the brighter side of things. Yeah. At this time when we first met, so it was kind of ideal and perfect. And surrounding myself with people who did music and realizing, I know I'm in this funk, but if I don't do music, if I don't get out of this, there's no reason for me to be here. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to have to start all over.
Yeah. How long was that period of... Would you call it a depression, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I definitely call it a depression. Okay. It was a state of like, just kind of, and for me, I call it a functional depression. Okay. Meaning that like, I could go to work. Yeah. I could get up and do things. I could eat. I could go hang out. But really, like, my soul was just going down to the point where, at some point, like a relationship, dating, and going through a very stupid breakup pushed me to the edge.
Okay. Oh, this happened during the same...
Yeah, for like 6... Well, this happened when I moved to New York. I met someone, and we were only dating for 4 months, and it kind of pushed me to the edge. But it wasn't because of her. It was because of me, just like looking at what am I doing with my life, and it finally pushed me to go see like a psychologist, like a therapist, And I was like, but I think it was built up from the 6 years of me trying to like, I'm not doing music. I am doing music. I'm not doing music. I can't do music. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go and, I don't know, be a manager somewhere and do something and go back to school. And, I don't know.
You knew you were lying to yourself.
I knew I was lying to myself. I still want to finish school, which I am going to take some classes. Because I keep saying that I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to wait another 10 years.
Okay.
And do it. I'm just going to do it. You can do it online. It's like...
it's easy now.
So...
How long was therapy?
I only did that for 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, at some point, I was like, just coming to therapy makes me feel bad. Like, I feel fine when I'm not here, but when I come, I feel bad, so I'm going to go.
I did that, too, where I told therapists. Yeah, early this year, I did like 6-7 months.
Did you?
And I'm like, I'm good, because every time I come here, I feel bad.
Yeah.
Like, at first, I didn't, so I don't know if that means I'm fixed.
Exactly.
Thanks.
I was like, I feel bad. It wasn't what we were talking about that I felt bad. It was just the actual act of being there and going. Yeah. And I was like,
this isn't right anymore.
Yeah, I was like, at first you were helping, and I was like, I feel good. I figured something out.
Yeah.
And now I just feel like, at the moment. So I think, some people have that sort of reaction to it, and some people, want to decide to go longer.
So at this time, were your family, were they kind of happy or glad, or that you weren't doing the music, or?
No, my family, they're not opposed to me doing music. They just don't. At the time, they didn't show a lot of support around what I was doing. They weren't, my family, they loved me to death. Yeah. So they were never saying anything malicious or like, oh, you don't need to be doing da 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 da. It was more like, I'd have some conversations with my grandmother, and she's like, you're really going to be successful when you give your heart to to God, or when you give your music to God. And that's sweet. That's super nice. But at the same time, I'm like, is what I'm doing just not enough? Like, I don't understand. Like, just say I'm a good musician. Like, that's it. Like, just give me this one little thing. All this hard work. And my mother, single mother, she, at the time when we were growing up, and she's really busy. And I know, and like I had to, coming into being an adult, and living on my own, it took me a while to understand, what she has, sacrificed or had to do, and where her head is at, and there were 6 of us, and being able to understand how she does support, and it may not be exactly the way I want, with like pom-poms and everything at every show, but she supports the way she knows how, right? And so that's the biggest like revelation, I guess. Yeah.
Where are they at now with
Pittsburgh? They're in Pittsburgh, but
both.
Yeah, they're
geographically
they're in Pittsburgh. Where are they mentally, psychologically? My mom, I know she doesn't necessarily talk to me about being a really big fan, but when someone asks about me and she starts to boast about just what you're doing, she'll tell me that someone has asked about me, and she'll tell them what she has told them and what she, so that's how I know she's proud, that she's happy.
That's how she processes it.
So that's how she processes it. She doesn't necessarily tell me, but all the time, or but she'll tell somebody else, then she tells me through that. So that's how, like, I've learned that she's like, how she supports, or how she views what I do and what I'm doing. So but my sisters, definitely, I have 3 sisters. My one sister sings with me from time to time, and then the other ones, they're much younger than I, and they're they do what they can.
Okay, great.
But they I don't know, they love my music. My niece, who is 5, she knows all of my songs inside and out, and she came with my sister Dana to the bitter end.
Oh, really? Okay.
And she sang a cover of Royals, the Lord's song, and it's so cute. It's on my Instagram. It's like she's really good. But so I think they're in a much, like I said, they've changed so much. And like my siblings, they're pretty much they're very supportive. They've come to my shows, and they're a little bit different because they grew up different than I did. Yeah. So
you were like the test.
I was very much so the test. Although I will say I'm my mother's favorite. Don't tell my sister said that.
Yeah, we won't.
So the test worked, but at the same time, there were a few drawbacks here and there.
Cool. So you had mentioned with the EP that was one chapter. What was that chapter you were ending?
That chapter was, it was all of that effort put into existing as a musician, and I didn't know why I was trying to exist as a musician or what that really meant to me, to the point where I didn't even call myself a musician. I was like, I play music. And then I got to a point where like I had to wake up in the morning and say, I'm a musician. I am an artist. This is what I do, every day. But I wrote all these songs from, playing my guitar and having this dream and falling in love really young and falling out, or not falling out of love, getting your heart broken, and trying to communicate that way. I didn't communicate very well to people. I was very socially awkward, but when I played my guitar, it was a whole other story. And I wrote these songs, but at the same time, these songs ended up getting chewed up and spit out by the industry, because this is what I took to the labels, and this is what I was judged on. So when I will say the responses were good, and getting that placement where Clive himself listened to the song, and I played it for him in his bungalow down in L.A.
Nice.
Loved the song, so I got a good reception. But when it was like, well, why isn't it a part of me? I was going through all, like I just was saying before. So it was a lot of like, I felt like, and in the song, What I Like, the JackLucy song, I say like, I feel like I was in this like caterpillar cocoon stage where I was like learning a bunch of stuff and trying to figure myself out. And in the song I say, like, yeah, I'm doing all right, or yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm a butterfly. I came out of my cocoon around 25. Like really figured out that stage of my life was a huge learning process. Yeah. And then all the doubt, I needed to ship the doubt and ship it away and close that chapter and say these were really good songs. This is where I was, and they need to be recorded and put down in history in some way, and move on to what I developed from that, my character, personality, and then just musicality, So I just had to close that chapter of trying to doing, and I needed to be print and done. So.
Does it feel odd when you do the songs, performing the songs, or not as attached to them?
You know what? These songs, it doesn't feel odd. Because right now it's about the performance, and like I said, I've only put 5 songs on the EP, but I probably have about 35, 40 songs that I've written, and the ones that I still play feel really good. The words are still relevant, and when I get that response and that feeling, that energy from the crowd, I try to feel what they're feeling that I'm saying. Yeah, it sounds weird, but it works. So that, there's certain words that I hang on when I feel that people are really listening, or they're into it, or they're really just into that rhythm of that song, the guitar that I'm playing. So the songs that I play, they're very, very comfortable. But I will bring out even older songs into shows. My last show, I brought out a song that I wrote when I was like 17. Yeah. But I play them a little bit different, but they're still very relevant, and no one's ever heard them before.
So it's new to them.
So I used to write a lot of love songs. Okay. a lot of love songs.
So what's the new chapter like?
The new chapter is going to be, it's very, I'm all about people who have, gone through a lot to get to where they are, who have, against all odds, right? Looking at, like, I have a tattoo on my forearm of Bessie Coleman, who was a pilot, I believe it was around 1920s, and 1910, 1920s, and African-American, and she wasn't able to get her pilot's license in the U.S., so she went to France, because, someone would train her there. No one would train her in the U.S. So, coincidentally, with all of that hard work that she put into it, and just saying, okay, I'm not going to give up, I'm going to really figure out where I can go, she went to France, and she got her license. And then, coincidentally, she became the first person of African descent to get an international pilot's license. Okay. She did a lot before Amelia Earhart and stunt flying and all this stuff. So, and there are many other people like that, doing anything against the grain and where it was almost seemed impossible. And for me, like, closing that chapter of, like, it seemed impossible for many reasons. Although maybe from the outside it didn't look like it was, but from the inside, everything seemed impossible. And this is about the possible. This is about the story of how I got here, and being very, very blunt. And I'm going. I say that I create urban folk music, and that's one type of genre that I enjoy playing, which doesn't really exist, but that's what I call it. Because I always thought I was a folk artist, but because of how I play and how I sing, it could be border R&B, but to me it's nothing. It's grunge. To me it's grunge music. But I call it urban folk. So this new chapter is going to be very real, very honest, very... I never really wanted to be a singer. I consider myself a musician, like instrumentalist. So it's going to be really driven by instruments and different genres that I like to play. But it's still going to sound like JackLucy. Okay. So I might do straight up Delta blues song, but for some reason there's that rhythm and there's that tonality, there's that tone, there's the melodic structure. That's a JackLucy song, although it's bluegrass, or although it's rock, or although these are all jazz. So like my shows are going to vary, but it's all going to be about the performance. And going to be putting out a lot of live disc, live tracks, and as opposed to studio tracks. I'm not a big studio track person.
Okay, so it'll be more, maybe not a studio album coming out.
Yeah, maybe not. The more of a live album.
Okay, that's interesting.
Which I like I said, I thrive. The performance is so different. My vocals are so different from when I do live, and to me, I like at this point, I'm just gonna say that's okay. I'm not gonna try to do a studio album. Why do I have to try to do a studio album and like try to squeeze in there because everybody does studio albums? I'm just gonna do something different. Do a live album. Lots of live albums.
Okay, when can we expect the start of the live albums?
Start of the live albums will be starting next year.
Good.
I have, like I said, I have a show on December 20th at Rockwood, and my drummer's coming in, and we're actually going to map out all of 2015 and what that's going to look like, and that's going to be a lot of the live albums, and that's going to come with the tour. Okay. So that will be the the live album and pulling from. Yeah.
I'm so excited for you.
I'm excited. It should be fun. I feel good. I feel good about this, and even when you don't feel good about it, I still feel good about it. Like, don't feel good, but who cares?
Okay, great.
We're gonna make this happen.
Good. So when's a good place for people to meet you online?
You can go. I love Instagram. Although there's no music really on there,
I love
but
Instagram.
I really connect
it's more
with people
positive
on Instagram.
too.
It is. Yeah. It's like put some things out. I put some video clips up. So Instagram, it's JackLucy FM. Okay, it's my Instagram. You can also go to my YouTube page. I do have a website which is JackLucyFM.com. Okay. And so those are the best places. But Instagram. Twitter, everything is JackLucy FM. Okay, great. SoundCloud, I can't forget SoundCloud. So that's the only one. No, that's the only one that doesn't have the FM. Oh, okay. That's JackLucy.
Okay, and we'll have all this in the show notes.
Yeah, yes. But so I mean, I'm excited for what 2015 brings, for what tomorrow brings, for this next minute, whatever's happening after this.
Great. So, well, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I enjoyed it.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah, the song's called What I Like. Gonna ask my mother once or twice to give me an answer, some good advice. She tells me that I'm leaving to do what I like. I'm talking to my future. She confronts my past. She tells me that it's over. She wasn't meant to last. I'm taking all this in now to do what I like. So now I am changing. So yes, I'm doing okay. I'm a butterfly. Came out of my cocoon around 25. And yeah, I know it's alright to do what I like. Dancing with some old friends underneath the moon. They're looking at me crazy, saying, "Who is you?" I tell them that it's just me doing what I like.
There you have it. My interview with JackLucy and a gorgeous song, What I Like. That is absolutely beautiful. I hope you enjoyed the show and the song. And you can hear more of JackLucy with the Spotify playlist that I put together in the show notes. It features music from JackLucy and other artists for a wonderful mood of music. You can also check her out online at JackLucyFM.com. JackLucyFM.com. And don't forget, she's going to be at the Rockwood Music Hall on December 20th, 2014, I guess, depending when you hear this interview. Anyway, make sure you guys subscribe to the show, Talk Music Talk, on iTunes, and leave a wonderful rating and a review. It would really help me out with iTunes rankings. And you can find out more about the podcast on talkmusictalk.com, talkmusictalk.com. Till next time, this one's for you, Liz.